and they would have been like right over there. And I'm flashing the light at them, and the arc welding light appeared directly behind them, like directly on the, it looked like on the American border, and it moved all along the hydro lines there, and then made this slow arc as it went around. It looked like very, very low to the ground, and it just came right above the car. It was directly up. I was looking right up at this thing. And I remember that years later, I went back to one of the kids. Never interviewed any of these kids through all these years, and they all grew up. And the one kid became an aeronautical engineer. He was in Finland. He'd come back. He saw me shoveling the driveway, and he said to me, he says, "Are you still doing UFOs?" I said, "Yeah, I'm still doing UFOs." And he said, "Remember that one we saw that one night?" And that was this one. "Yeah." I said, you saw it?" And I said, "Hang on, don't tell me anything. I want to put you on film." And I've actually got the film where I interviewed this guy. And I said, and so when I filmed him, he said, "Oh yeah, it had that gun, that metal. It was gun metal." And I go, "Metal? What metal?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "You saw metal?" I said, "No." He said, "Yeah, I saw metal." I said, "I don't remember any metal. I just remember these lights." So that was the thing. He's two different people, and he was right there too. Like he was outside the car, and but he saw something completely different than what I had seen. And all the other kids, I've never even interviewed the other kids. And so it's been 1976, so it's been a long time, and all these kids have now grown up. Those 4 kids came with me maybe a dozen times. They'd always say, "You going out? You going out? Can we come? Can we come?" And we all go. And the one kid this night, we may even have the notes somewhere. I've got the notes. We talked to Larry, who's my friend who drove the first night. His brother was actually in the front seat taking notes. So we've got actual notes, because these triangles were flying around that whole night. He's taking notes. We saw this. He's moving in the northeast or whatever. And then at the end, we have this incident. So he's got all these pages of notes. He's a 14-year-old kid. He's taking notes in the front seat.
Grant, it's been a long time since that happened.
Yeah.
Tell me what you've done with your life as a result of that event. In the meantime.
Well, as I always said, I mean, my friends went on with their life. Like there must have been 100 people we took out. Everybody just went on with their life, and I just fell off the edge of the earth. I just said, like, I got to do this. I mean, I was starstruck with this whole thing. I couldn't get enough of it. I basically went to university. I kept going to courses, but I wasn't interested. I just was doing it. This was what I wanted to do. So my whole life, I've just tried to make enough money just to survive so that I could do this. And I always did it in my spare time. And then once I retired, then I went full time with it. But it affected me greatly, the incidents, because I'm going to show you a couple of incidents, but there was about 5 encounters in 75, 76 where I was within a couple hundred meters of objects on the ground or objects in the sky. I got pretty close. And then I just sort of gave up. Like, I've never been back here. It's the first time I've been back at this location for over 40 years. I've never really publicized. I put it in books and I would talk about it in lectures, but I never came out to do the sighting because I had so many real close sightings that that's what I wanted to do, is figure out what had I seen, because nobody really cared that I'd seen this stuff. I would put it in and say, that's really cool, whatever, but it didn't influence anybody. So I wanted to find out what was it that I saw. And the other thing I realized was that the thing that got me out there was the CKY film. And I realized this incident where the guy said, as soon as that thing glows up and then glows back down, as soon as it glows up, I'm going to shoot. And he shoots, and the thing jumps as he shoots. And then I'm thinking, like 30 years later, I'm going, this wasn't even random. It's almost like they wanted me out there. Like, I didn't go the first time when it started, and then I went out because this film had been taken, and I started to see the whole UFO phenomena different, that we get dragged in and we may have soul contracts and this kind of stuff, where all the incidents that I thought all the years were random events, and I started to think, maybe they weren't random. Maybe this is what they wanted. They wanted me out there telling these stories and writing stuff and stuff like that. And I saw it completely different. But I did get 5 really close sightings in 75, 76. And then really didn't do any sky watching for the rest of my life. I just sort of went on to other things.
Grant, you're quite a unique researcher. Many of the researchers have never seen anything, but they know everything about everything.
Yeah.
You're very balanced. It's almost like you believe this totally with all your heart,
Yeah,
soul, and mind.
that's where I have the idea where you have to distinguish between knowing and believing. That most people will say I know when in fact they're just saying I'm believing. It's only when you've had the experience, and it's because I had the experience that I was able to go on to the other stuff. And so when you get that, and then you get rejected for your research that nobody really cares what you saw, then I'm thinking I got to figure out what this was, because it was so fascinating. I had no interest before, none whatsoever. And it was when I first saw it was almost like by winning the lottery. And I think a lot of UFO researchers, you'll see that. It becomes an obsession. It doesn't become, you spend your money, you spend your time, and it's almost like nothing that you get will be good enough to solve the thing. It's not like, okay, I've not got enough, I'm going to go. You just keep going, you keep collecting, because you're just absolutely consumed with what it is. And that's part of the phenomena. It's the idea, why do UFOs have lights on them? So you can see them. They're trying to get your attention, they're trying to get you dragged in. And most people who have had close encounters will tell you, you couldn't forget it. You couldn't if you tried, and you end up running with it like a crazy man.